After a plague eradicates human civilization, an army rises to control the survivors. While escaping from them, a beautiful woman stumbles upon a mysterious warrior, bringing with her the key that could save what's left of humanity. When a virus wipes out nearly all humans in Europe, the survivors migrate north to live in isolation. However, the fight for control follows them there. One evening, a soldier named John finds himself captive with his wife Emilia. The man was tasked to eliminate the people of a town who were infected by the deadly virus. However, Commander Stone noticed that around 500 of the residents were missing. Given that those 500 people could still spread the disease, Stone demands to know where they fled. John refuses to say, so Stone aims his gun at the woman. The soldier begs the man to release her, insisting that the missing townsfolk already fled by the time his squad arrived. When this doesn't convince the commander, John begs him to kill him instead. The man merely chuckles at this before pulling the trigger at Emilia's head. John can only scream in tears, unable to save his wife. 3 years later, John lives alone in a cabin by the lake, still traumatized by his wife's death. Despite moving away from the army and other people, he continues training his body and fighting to survive. As he reads a book that evening, he recalls finding Stone and his men executing the escaped townsfolk. John attempted to stop them, but the commander merely called him a traitor before knocking him out. Not long after, John was transported via an aircraft. During the ride, Stone asserted that Emilia was infected, so she had to die anyway. The mourning husband didn't believe this, given that his wife was tested not long before Stone killed her. The commander defended that it was better to be on the safe side, but John thought he was just killing innocent lives. Stone laughed at this, then changed the subject to what they intended to do with a soldier. Since John was immune to the virus, he wasn't executed for his actions. Instead, he was taken to a Navy ship where they intended to learn the source of his immunity. However, as his blood was to be extracted, John killed the doctor and escaped, only to find that Stone was waiting for him nearby. As the prisoner ran, the commander radioed his men to find him and seal the ship. Despite this, John fought his way to freedom. At present, John sits by his campfire when a wounded woman emerges from the woods. She begs him to hide her before falling unconscious. In the morning, the woman, Maria, wakes up cuffed to John's bed. Seeing her frightened, the man assures her that he won't hurt her. Noting how her wound is from a gunshot, the man insists on removing the bullet to prevent infection. As he prepares, the woman gets scared, wondering if he's even a doctor. John simply says no before pulling out the bullet. John discovers that the bullet she was shot with was a tracker, so he destroys the device and interrogates the woman on who's after her. However, Maria passes out from the pain, leaving him with only a barcode on her wrist as a clue. When she wakes up later, her savior tells her to leave after she's recovered since he doesn't want her problems to reach him. Despite this, Maria stays and even tries helping him out when she's strong enough. John refuses this and tells her to rest so she can recover and leave faster. With no choice, the woman heads back into the cabin. When he's alone, 3 soldiers chance upon John while they're searching for Maria, claiming that she's infected. The man doesn't respond to them, so the soldiers walk to his cabin to search for the woman. Seeing this, John attacks, killing 2 of them. However, one man manages to slip into his cabin. John then hears a gunshot, but to his surprise, it was Maria who pulled the trigger, having found one of his weapons and shot the soldier. After disposing of the bodies, John heads to his shed where Maria finds him putting away the soldiers' guns. She notices the weaponry he has collected, making her wonder who he really is. John just explains that he likes to be prepared. Having shown that she can defend herself, Maria insists on him letting her stay and help out. With this in mind, John hands her a mop to clean the mess she made in his cabin. As she does, she accidentally cuts herself from a splinter, so she searches the cabin for a first aid kit, leading her to discover a few hidden vials. Meanwhile, Granite wonders why the men she sent to find Maria haven't returned. Her companion, Dr. Feldspa, assumes that the men are dead, so he suggests sending another squad to find out what happened. With that in mind, Granite approaches their trainees to check if they're ready. She orders them to attack her, but all of them fail to land a blow against her. Instead, she incapacitates them with ease. Their trainer points out that they're not supposed to kill the trainees, but Granite berates him for not preparing them well enough. At the the cabin, the recent fight has John recalling awful memories, so he demands to know who Maria is. She just recounts how she escaped from the facility and trekked the woods on foot before arriving at his cabin. She knows the soldiers will come looking for her again, so she asks if John wants her to leave. To her delight, the man says no. He points out that the man claimed she was infected, yet she didn't have any symptoms. He also knows that the people after her are the same ones who killed his wife. Seeing this as his chance at retribution, he assures Maria's safety. As the woman leans on him in gratitude, John looks back at his memories with Emilia. In the morning, Maria wakes up to find John building a wall with sandbags to prepare for a fight. This makes her realize how serious the situation is. John continues fortifying his home and gathering supplies throughout the day. To show her trust and appreciation for his efforts, Maria finally tells him the whole story that evening. Commander Stone has found a cure, and given how the world desperately needs it, he intends to use it to control the world. They got the vaccine from her blood since she is immune, so she escaped, refusing to supply their army with a cure. Instead, she wants it to be readily available for everyone. Learning the gravity of the situation, John decides not to help further, refusing to get entangled with Stone's plans again. Maria begs him, even pointing out how his wife would have wanted him to help her, but he walks away. Still hoping to convince him, Maria tries to help him clean his weapons the next day. Seeing how she handles a gun, John gets curious about her life before the plague, so Maria shares how she was orphaned at a young age. She became a delinquent, living off of petty crime. This escalated to her using weapons, which eventually landed her in prison. When the virus spread, she was the lone survivor from the penitentiary, so Maria was sent to a lab for testing. This was how they discovered her immunity. Empathizing with her, John starts training Maria to hone her shooting skills, hoping to allow her to defend herself. Unbeknownst to them, another squad treks the woods in search of the woman. While they're preparing spears later on, John notices something in the woods. He then excuses himself to go to the bathroom but heads to a shed instead. The new squad sees him and surrounds the shed, only to find the man waiting for them with a gun in hand. He easily kills 2 of them, but the last one manages to capture Maria. Instead of stepping out of the shed, John sends an arrow between the gaps in the wooden wall, hitting the enemy in the leg. This allows Maria to escape while John kills her captor. Knowing that the rest of the army will arrive after the second squad fails to return, John warns Maria to be ready. As he predicted, Granite rallies their troops. Meanwhile, John and Maria prepare the weapons he's collected through the years. After this, the man goes to the shower in his setup in the woods. Maria cleans herself up right after him, and seeing the woman's body tempts John, though he ignores his urges. Late that afternoon, Maria fetches some water by the lake when she gets apprehended. The barcode on her wrist confirms her identity, so Feldspar radios Stone, reporting that they have the target. Just then, John arrives and kills the men. The 2 then return to their cabin, only to find soldiers there as well. They easily pick them off, unaware that Feldspar survives and calls for backup. With that, more soldiers soon arrive for John and Maria to eliminate. Learning that his men are getting defeated, Stone wonders who's helping Maria, and Granite assumes that he's someone who used to be in special forces. Using different tactics, the duo manages to kill dozens of men Stone sends their way. Maria even uses some gasoline to burn a few soldiers down. After defeating countless soldiers, John and Maria finally reconvene. The man orders his companion to start cleaning up the bodies, but the tired woman questions why they need to bother with that. John tells her that it's better for their enemies to go missing than to be found dead by their comrades. With that, the 2 work on disposing of the bodies. However, Granite sends more men for recon, and her team discovers a hidden tunnel under the cabin. They report this to Granite, but before they can look into it, Maria appears and kills them. Seeing that their enemies are still bent on finding them, John hunts down the soldiers through the woods. Unbeknownst to him, Granite figures out that the tunnel is an old mine shaft. This leads her to discover a way to sneak up on their enemies. John continues hunting for soldiers through the woods but gets ambushed by Feldspar. Finally seeing him up close, the man recognizes him as the soldier who escaped 3 years ago. With Maria now their target, the soldier attacks their former ally. Feldspar manages to disarm John and punches him, causing him to stagger back against a tree. He then throws a knife at him, but John evades and takes the weapon. He swings the blade at his enemy, but Feldspa blocks his attacks and knocks him down. Meanwhile, Maria sets some traps when she gets held at gunpoint. As they approach, however, she reveals hidden knives and uses them to kill her captors. Elsewhere, John tackles his enemy and pummels him. Feldspa turns the tables and finally knocks him out with the end of a gun. Just then, another soldier radios Feldspa, reporting that he's found Maria by the lake. As the man tries to apprehend her, however, he accidentally pulls his trigger before she shoots back. Feldspa finds the woman down and wounded, so he prepares a syringe to capture her. By the time John regains consciousness, Feldspa already has an unconscious Maria slung over his shoulders. He brings her into the tunnels to deliver her to Stone while trying to radio back to Stone to report that John is alive. However, the signal's too weak for him to deliver the message, so he just continues down the tunnel. In the woods, John passes by a soldier's radio, overhearing that the surviving men are being called back as Feldspa has Maria already. With this, he rushes back to the cabin. Eventually, Feldspa finds himself lost in the tunnels. John then emerges from the darkness, and the army doctor immediately pummels him. However, the man pushes back and lands a few blows. With Feldspa not arriving at the expected time, Stone orders the rest of his army to storm the tunnels and find Maria. As they're fighting, Maria finally wakes up in time for John to kill her captor. With this, they make their way out. Granite and her men soon catch up to them, so the duo leads them into a room and begins a firefight. They eliminate their enemies as they arrive and manage to retrieve a shield from one of them. At her companion's order, Maria takes the shield while John uses a smoke bomb to cover their tracks as they escape. However, Granite catches sight of them and fires a bullet into John. Despite this, the two make a run for it. After getting far enough, John opens a service hatch and hides inside. This allows them to let the soldiers pass without noticing them. Despite his wound, however, John urges Maria to stay hidden while he deals with their enemies. She refuses, insisting that she doesn't want to live without him. The man encourages her that she can before exiting. Maria can't do anything but cry, believing that her last ally is walking to his death. John continues to fight through the tunnels, dodging bullets as he lures Maria's pursuers away. Eventually, he makes it out of the tunnels, only to find himself in the middle of Stone's base. Staggering, he faces his opponent, who's happy to see him alive. He orders his men to stand down as John is an old friend. However, the warrior corrects him by saying that they're family. This reveals that Stone and John are brothers, with the former having changed his name to rise to the ranks. This was also despite their father, who preferred John throughout their childhood. The commander then demands to have Maria, but John claims that he killed her already. However, his brother knows he can't kill an innocent woman. To get him to talk, Stone orders his men to beat Maria's location out of him. Dozens of soldiers surround John and take their turns beating him while his brother continues taunting him. Still, John remains defiant, insisting that Maria is dead. Pissed, Stone kicks his brother down. He then acknowledges that he'll never talk, so he commands his men to kill John. Hearing this, the man calls him a coward, claiming that he is afraid of facing his brother, who's already half dead. He challenges Stone to a one-on-one fight, and the commander laughs as he accepts. Stone makes the first blows, and the tired John is barely able to throw punches. Pitying his brother, Stone declares that he'll send him to his wife in hell before moving to attack again. This time, an angered John musters up his strength to knock the man down. Defeated, Stone demands Granite to give him a gun. However, the woman merely smiles, clearly amused to see him down. Stone then steals a gun from another soldier and aims it at his brother's head. Unafraid, John approaches his armed brother, recalling how he killed Amelia years ago. He then steals the gun from him and pulls the trigger, finally ending Commander Stone's tyranny. The man's soldiers surround him, with Granite having enjoyed the show. She reveals that she's been planning to kill Stone as well, so she thanks John for doing it for her. However, she refuses to have competition, thus John has to die as well. Just then, Maria appears with 2 grenades in hand. She threatens to kill herself if they don't let John live. Immediately, the new commander accepts her offer, so her men take Maria away, leaving John behind. The wounded man can barely stand as he vows to find Maria and save her. The woman is shoved into an aircraft, where she meets Granite's boss and the leader of the Sovereign, Zahara. With a cure in their hands, the woman plans to reshape human civilization into her image. Unbeknownst to them, Maria extracted her blood days ago and left vials of them in John's cabin. This was to allow him to take them to another scientist so they could provide a cure for the people without relying on the tyrannic army.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.